Good morning. This is Denise Cusack, the Executive Director of Herbalists Without Borders, and I'm speaking with Ola Obasi of HWB Puerto Rico today. Ola responded to her community and the rural town of Jayuya after Hurricane Maria. She's been operating a Free People's Clinic several times a month for almost 5 months now. First of all, tell us about the immediate aftermath of the hurricane in Puerto Rico and your experiences with that.
I get to come to the U.S., which happened to be the day before the hurricane, and I had booked this ticket a month ahead. And my two children, my son and my daughter, remained behind with my friend, who I was staying with, a very good friend of mine. So I did not experience the Hurricane Maria. I did experience Hurricane Irma, but I knew that Maria might be something different and monstrous. The way it was described as a Category 5 hurricane, there were concerns with that. So I left, and yes, indeed, it was a Category 5. It was horrendous. And the description that I got when I finally could speak to my family and friends, which took about 7 to 10 days, was, everything looked like a war zone. So I couldn't return back to the island for a couple of weeks. So now probably looking like 3 weeks since the hurricane. And when I did return, it was like no man's land. The airport seemed really, destitute, not many people. A lot of people were leaving. When I arrived to my city of Mayagüez, where I stay, it was a little better, but taking a small flight from San Juan to Mayagüez, I could see flooding and mud everywhere, trees fallen. It seemed like a war zone. It just seemed really, really sad for me, because I've seen the island with so many trees and very lush and green. And when you see green everywhere and then you just see mud everywhere, it hurts, So when I got to Mayagüez, there was no electricity when I arrived, at the airport at least. And my friend who picked me up had told me everything that had happened, and she stayed in a city called Rincon, which is not far from Mayagüez. When I arrived to my place where I was staying with my children, who were so happy to see me, I was happy to see them as well, as you can imagine. There was hardly any water in the house, and trees that were in the backyard, big, huge trees, had fallen down. So it was, a lot of damage, particularly to the environment. Until present, we can't have any fruits and particular foods that we are used to eating here, like certain type of bananas and plantain and different fruits, papaya. We're having to import a lot of these from neighboring islands. So it was a trauma for everyone. And when you can feel, I'm a sensitive person to energy. So when I could feel the trauma of everyone, on the island, the trauma of the land, it feels like one just has to deal with deal with immediate issues, like clearing roads, making sure you have water to drink, making sure everybody else is okay. But in the long run, you think about it, and you think of long-term damage, like access to the loved ones in rural areas, monetary issues, and then just not having electricity for a while, or having clean water for a while. Immediately you're not thinking about even taking a full bath. You're okay with a bird bath or with candles, but eventually it gets to you, when you need to work, or people are expecting, the world, society is expecting you to come back to normal again, and the access to normalization is very difficult,
Right.
and still is for many on the island. Yeah.
Right. So you've been working in a rural community, and how did you first decide, and how did you approach going there? I know a lot of people are interested in how do you start a clinic, and I know you had spoken with the mayor and the co-mayor, and you had
Yes.
friends and family that
Yes.
from that area. Can you tell everyone a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, I've been coming to the island. I'm originally African, lived in the U.S. I'm a U.S. citizen, lived in the U.S. for about 20 years, and been coming to Puerto Rico for about 7 years. And excuse the background with the music and the island movement. I'm outside at a cafe. But the island has been calling me for 7 years. I came here actually on a honeymoon that I came by myself initially. So that's a long story, not to talk about today, maybe another podcast. But in the event of coming, a friend of mine named Miguel Sage, who stays in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I was living, he's a Cuban native. He had suggested that if I was coming to the island, I must go to a ceremony that occurs every summer here on the island. It's a Taino ceremony. And he gave me the name of a person to contact and to give his blessings to her. Her name is Margarita Cucuya Figueres Vidal. So I headed up into the mountains of Jayuya I was staying at that time in El Yunque, near San Juan, the tropical forest there, rainforest. And so a friend of mine and I headed out to Jayuya, which would be about 4 hours, maybe 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours to Jayuya from El Yunque, the El Yunque area, San Juan area. Anyway, got there at night, saw this woman who was holding a matriarch, holding space for Taino ceremony, by the way, which is the native peoples of this land are the Taino people. And they do exist, and they do exist in their ceremony because they exist in the DNA of the people. And so I know there's records of, all the Taino died or there are no more Taino, but there actually are people who are reawakening and recalling the Taino ways. And so this woman is one of them, an elder. Her name is Cucuya. And so I met her at the ceremonial grounds, and I am a person of indigenous roots and person who seeks to keep walking and continuously walk and always walk in purpose, in the purpose path. So this was an important ceremony for me. When I first met this woman, she was like someone I remembered from somewhere in the past. She remembered me too. And so we embraced, and we've never been separated since then for 7 years. So the ceremonial grounds is in Jayuya, where I am working with the rural people clinically. So I chose Jayuya because it was, for me, my birthplace to the island, where I've held ceremony since, where I was adopted myself, and my children were adopted as Tainos. And so I felt like this would be the place to begin any work, anything I could do. Because as you can imagine, after something traumatic, you don't even know where to begin. So I just went into prayer, went into my meditation, and felt that Jayuya would be the place. And working aligned with my godmother now, Kuya, she suggested just start there. So we started the Gautiao project, which is El Proyecto Gautiao, where we started going every week, taking water, taking solar paraphernalia, taking clothing, diapers, whatever we could, money, whatever we could, using money also to get there, or to buy things to get there to help the people of that area. Then eventually she connected me with the mayor there, the co-mayor, who's a very good friend of hers. And co-mayor gave us a refugee, like a refugee camp, I don't want to say refugee camp, but like a place where everybody was staying who had been displaced. And I started there. I just started interviewing people. And hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Few people. Oh, perfect. Good. Sorry, the internet looked like it was off. So I started to interview people and ask them what are their main concerns. And people mentioned anxiety, diabetes, hypertension, depression. Of course, you can imagine depression was on top of the list. There was consensus almost with everyone that they needed things to help them intervene and, you know, have interventions for depression. So when I came back to the States, I think we had a conversation, and that's how the coordination with Herbalists Without Borders for Puerto Rico started, and we started our donations, and here we are.
Right.
Yes.
So how are they doing now? It's been 5 months, and I know a lot of people think, well, it's 5 months later, it's over and move on. But in especially in rural communities and with such devastation,
Yes.
tell people what it's really like still, even though it has been almost half a year.
To be honest, there's still people, not even in rural areas, even in non-rural areas, who have just maybe 2-3 days ago got their electricity back on. There's still people without. I think it's now about 50% of the island. So it has gone down from 90, 80, percent, but it's still half the island. The thing about it now is that for instance, we have our community family members of the Taino community who live further out in a place called Utuado, and we take them items so they can donate throughout the community. And this is a grandfather of our ceremonies. He and his wife and his children live in one community, but they don't have access. Their car now has broken down, so they don't have access at all. And the roads have been horrible. They're getting fixed slowly, but there are some roads that I have witnessed myself where there's like you're driving on a road and then there's a big crack and the whole road has dropped. Because, in Hayuya and Utuado, it's a very mountainous area. There are a lot of windy mountains. The road is on a windy mountainous area. So some of the roads have fallen. And if you look on the sides of the mountain as you're driving, it is down, deep down, so there is no access. It's like the road stops where the crack is. Right. So some people have been climbing poles or creating like some type of climbing creations to get from one side of the road to the other, because if it's cracked there and there's houses across, we cannot get there by car. So we have in the Gautiao, some of our, by the way, Gautiao in Taino means family. So a lot of the people in the Gautiao project are people who participate in our Taino ceremonies. So we are a family. Anyway, so we have some guys who come and are helping, climb, and, young people to help climb and take things, maybe even like pass it on a rope so that we can pass, clothing in a plastic bag, tie it on the rope, and then, let it pass by like that. I don't know how else to say it. There's also a lot of elders who have no access. So there used to be a small boat that would go across the river, where some elders live across the river, but now the boat's not going. They have refused for the boat. And at the time when we could go on the boat, could only be a maximum 3 people, including the person conducting the boat. So now we don't have access to that. So everything we are taking as donations are now basically in storage unless we find families out, and we keep giving our grandfather Makutok, who's out in the Utuado area, we give him items to donate to the children and the people in his nearby community.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you've been conducting clinics then
Yes.
for a few months now, and mostly what you're using donated items for the clinic, and
Yes.
you're seeing you said you're seeing 30 or so people each time.
Yeah.
Conduct a clinic.
This past week, I went on Wednesday. There were not many people at all. There might have been, I think I saw about 10 people. But usually I'm working with at least 30 people for 4 hours straight. Yeah.
Right. And so the plans are for you to be able to expand your free clinic and to go more days and reach additional communities throughout the island.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the goals for the future and what types of supplies we think we're going to need to be able to make this clinic go reach more people and more days per week?
It is my prayer. I've been praying and praying that because of the need, and my abilities, I've been praying that I'm able to do more clinics across the island. So, you know, where there's a demand and if you're able and capable, I feel that, you know, action is important. I don't feel comfortable just sitting somewhere and knowing that I'm able to do something to help people. And so right now the clinic is just in Hayuya. And then I use a lot of the donated items. If people show up, like there was a time everybody had something like a pneumonia, you know, coughing and all the other symptoms. And I've been carrying donations predominantly covered in my car, so that if I do meet people who are in need, I just give them salve or, you know, elderberry syrup or OSHA, you know, whatever they need. But now I started formulating the clinic center in Hayuya, for instance, and I'm in need of, you know, bottles, and I'm in need of, it would be nice to have measuring cups and different size of the bottles, the tincture bottles, for instance. It would be nice to have some kind of scale. Right now, I've just been using parts with a spoon, you know, and saying, okay, I put 2 parts and 1 part with this 1 spoon. But a scale would be good, because that's how I professionally always practice herbalism. And it's good to know the weights. But I'll get into the supplies a little better. Let me speak about areas that I feel could be, you know, concentrated, we should focus on. I would love to go to Luisa. So Luisa is again near San Juan, was hit really bad, was already in a place of not the best situation. It's not economically thriving. So that would be a place to put the clinic, and I would love to have that there. Plus, as an African, we can section of the island, so there's something that almost feels right to just do that, you know, to go there. So that's a personal thing, but it's also because of the socio-economical access. So I'd really love to go there and to set a clinic there. The people there do work with plants and natural remedies. So I know that the reception would be awesome. I know that people would really, really embrace natural remedies there. I'd like to go out to Vieques and Culebra, which are the little islands off of Puerto Rico, but they're Puerto Rican islands. Vieques is very heavily Taino, but also hit really bad. Both islands have had a history of being experiments for US military weapons and things, so like radiation and things like that. There's even concerns that those kind of weapons and experiments may not have been disposed of well. So waters and earth could still be leaking out some of the radiation or whatever else. I don't know all the details of those weapons, but or military substances, but I do know that that's there and it's present. And so I would love to, you know, even if I could just work clinically there with antioxidants and things like that, would be very important to see what clinical issues would be coming up there, other than anxiety and the trauma that people have experienced on the island. Then I'd like to go to Maricao, which is another place that was hit really bad. It's more central of the island, and I'd like to go south, so Ponce area, and other southern cities. So just around the whole island. I'm already in Mayagüez, which is out west. Mayagüez is pretty good, you know. It's a university. There's a big university here, so everything starts to function really fast when there's a university and hospitals, and so I'm very lucky and blessed to be here, and I'm glad that I'm here. It's like divine order that I'm here. So I'm in a stable place to be able to have the energy to give to places that people are lacking.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been leaving the island, and a lot of people are still having a hard time finding work or income. And one of the areas that you want to include in your project as we expand is you want to have apprentices or interns who come to your town and stay with you and learn and help support these clinics.
Yes.
And then go back to their communities after they have the knowledge, and then they are herbalists in their own community. So it helps keep people in the community. It helps them earn a living.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about your vision for that?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that I've taught a lot of people already. I've been teaching for a long time, you know, and when I owned my shop in Pittsburgh, I taught a lot of workshops. I had a lot of people come in who I mentored, who taught workshops. I had students. I've had many students who are still working in Pittsburgh right now. And I love teaching. It runs in my family. My father was a professor of physics and mathematics. And he was a founder of one of the African science schools back home in Nigeria. So teaching is just in my blood, you know, and I enjoy seeing students do better. My wish always to them, as it is for my children, is that I want everyone to always, people do look up to you when you're their teacher, but I say to them, I want you to be better than myself. Like that would bring me the greatest joy. So it would bring me great joy to see people who are capable here, who have interest in herbalism, to work with their communities, because they're also feeling like, what do I do? And then one thing about the people of the island, Puerto Ricans, is that they're very good with farming and planting and being connected with the earth. These are earth people. So it's a perfect blend here. If these earth people know how to grow so well and know how to interact with the plants and the soil and the earth and the cycles of the earth, then they must also probably be very good clinically working with the people and connecting the people with the plants. So, and why not earn a living? I think that this is a profession that is we under-earn in herbalism. We give so much, but we don't receive as much as we do give. And it's just nature, a personality, character of herbalists. I was thinking about this yesterday on Wednesday, when I was driving back from Hayuya, how, wow, I mean, I just volunteer to go 2 hours away, come back 2 hours and arrive at night. I leave by 7 in the morning, I come back by 7 in the evening. And it's probably more than 2 hours because of the traffic along the windy roads, you know, all the risk of going there to see these clients who are happy to see me and I'm happy to see them, setting it up, blending these blends for them, sitting with them. It's all volunteer. I have nothing that I receive but joy and seeing people receive the healing. There's no monetary exchange for that, but that is like truly what herbalists around the world do. I think that it's important to receive some kind of monetary exchange because we do have to live. And so if I could train some herbalists here to make, even if it's a small living, something is better than nothing, especially with the hardships of, you know, the economical hardships here. That will keep people on the island and they will teach others. And my criteria is to work with a lot of the younger people so that they can be elders one day who are experts in their work and pass on to the children in the communities. So yes, I am working with this vision. I'm thinking about also just working with workshops, training people, just basic things. I have photos that I need to post of just a vacant area in Hayuya, where one of the ladies who's been working with me, and I said to her, I would love to train you. You are just, her name is Patricia. I would love to train her because she's so into this, you know, and I can see her heart is in this work and she's excited. She said, really, I would love to do it. But she's starting a herb garden. She's starting a food garden. And I said to her, Patricia, you're going to be able to plant all these things. What are you going to do with them? You need to train. She's like, yes, I will want to. I say, do what I do. So I want that. I want to go in different, you know, Luisa and Vieques and everywhere across the island that I can and train people to become herbalists, people who are interested to become herbalists, or train mothers, women, just basic 5-10 plants in your garden that you can have if your child is sick, you know, peppermint, you know, local plants, medicines. Just have those in your garden. Know what to do with them. You don't have to run to the hospital. You know, this has been an idea, a vision that I've had for a very, very, very long time. When I got my master's, started my master's in herbal medicine school at the time, Thai Sophia Institute, that was when we started our ceremony of, you know, getting into classes. We had circles we held. And I remember at the time, the late Bob Duggan and Diane Connolly, they were the leaders in the school at the time, president, and you know, they had asked us, why are we doing this, walking this path? And mine was because I teach, I want to remind Native peoples, indigenous peoples. At the time, I was thinking of people from my homeland in Africa, which I'll get there eventually. But my goal was to teach indigenous people to remember their medicine, to plant their pharmacy right outside, and I mean pharmacy with an F, outside their house, and use those plants and not rely so much on the pharmaceutical system. I think that it has its place, but there are some things we can really take care of with plant medicine.
Right. And speaking of that, we have been sending some seeds and we have more to send to you, but you've been working with people in communities to get those seeds out and start gardens. And we've also kind of chatted about getting some more of the native plants regrowing there because of the devastation as well. And there's just so many elements that we can really use to help improve communities, to give them the tools to help themselves and to be independent. And so I'm really looking forward to more seeds for you.
Yes, me too. Me too. I have seeds. I have a lot of the seeds you've given me, and I've passed on a lot to Patricia. I have more to pass on. But I've also been waiting for the opportunity to go to other parts of the island, as in for work. Because I do pass them out at different markets and places I go. But I'm holding off a little bit because I know there are people in areas that I haven't even touched that I know really need these seeds. to plant those, you know. So
Right.
I also have friends who are farmers and permaculturalists, and so we're thinking about planting, sprouting, and then taking the sprouted
Right.
plant, because it's
Right.
easier to plant that than plant a seed sometimes for some people. So I just want to work on this farming, you know, gardening and making our medicine and planting our food here, you know, getting really as off the grid as possible.
Right. Exactly. And a lot of that
and
ties
self-sustain.
in, right, exactly. Back to people being empowered to be able to take care of themselves and their communities,
Yes.
and to be able to take care of their own elders as well. Because I know there are a lot of people who have health issues and we're struggling, but they're not leaving.
Yes.
Those are the people that are staying.
Yes, they're not. No, they're not leaving. And there are people who love their island and they're not leaving. They don't want to leave. You know, I don't blame them. If I love it here too. I'm not leaving either, and not now. I have work to do here, and I feel called to be here for now. So I want to fulfill what I need to do. And I think that we need people to not leave who can be helpful, because it's like, if we all leave, then what happens to the place? You know, so it's nice if we can all help. And I think as a global community, that is our purpose, you know, to help each other. When one is in need, we help that person, and one day another person from across the globe will be in need, and we will help too. This is how we as a human family work. You know? Exactly. So that's my philosophy.
Right. So you have a new name for this project, and moving forward with Herbalists Without Borders, can you tell a little bit about the new name and why you picked that?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to keep the keepers of medicine because, you know, I wanted it to be something that would resonate with people on the island, because of the reminding people about their medicine of the earth. I wanted to be intentional with the name, so that in itself it is medicine and people understand it's the purpose. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. And I've actually always seen myself as a keeper of the herbal medicine tradition, the plant medicine traditions. I mean, a keeper of all that is around that, because there's stories around that. There is ancient ways that, you know, grandmothers use or grandfathers use, you know, how they use certain things. So the name comes in with the fact that there are people on the island who are not out of the closet, who are plant medicine healers. And I'm like, where are they? And so I want to be able to access these people, and they're elders, most of them. So I want to be able to access them and have them and help us empower everyone else. And that's why I called it the keepers of the medicine traditions, or traditional medicines. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to say about that, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. So what we're doing is we've been working together to put information out there to tell people what we still need, because, you know, to expand the clinic and to reach more communities, we need more supplies, we need donations, and we need you need to have a functioning clinic that you can take with you, from village to village, town to town, city to city.
Right.
And so what we've been working on is getting this project set up so that we have the resources, the funds, the supplies to be able to support Puerto Rico ongoing and long term. Yes. Because this isn't, you know, this isn't something that is just 2 months later, everybody's fine and you know, everyone leaves. It's an ongoing long-term project because of how much devastation there was, and because of the remoteness of some of the communities. And it's really important that we stay and that we continue to do this work and help more people. And because, you know, also you were telling me before that a lot of healthcare access has
Yes.
dwindled.
Yes.
You know, in the beginning, a lot of people kept coming
Yes.
to help, and
Yes.
half a year later, you're not going to have as many people.
Exactly.
So this is a necessity. This isn't just, well, we just want to offer herbal support
Right.
for people. It's a necessity as wellness. You know,
Yes.
they need this to
Yes.
survive and thrive. So,
Right.
so for anyone who is hearing our podcast, you know, it's really important that we continue to move forward and get supplies and donations. And we're going to keep a supply list on our website. We're going to keep driving everything. You know, we make deliveries and ship boxes to Puerto Rico frequently. And, you know, with the clinic ramping up, we're going to do it more often. It's going to be
Yes.
a lot. You know,
Yes.
we really need to get what people need to Puerto Rico. So we hope that this kind of touches you and that you hear what the people need, and that you'll join us, because the only way to really make a difference is to work together.
Yes. Yes.
And we are
Yes.
a global community. And like you said, you know, maybe today we're helping people in Puerto Rico, but we want to enable people in Puerto Rico to be able to turn around and help their own communities, and
Exactly.
reach out and help others as well. And
Yes.
it's like this circle of life and humanity,
Yes.
and compassion that we need to work
Yes.
together.
Yes. And I need to add a couple of things too. One is that I work with, as a birth doula too. I work with women and children, and that's really where a lot of the healthcare, as already even in the United States, I know there are some midwife centers, and I am working at midwife centers. I'm hired as a doula at certain midwife centers in Pittsburgh, at a midwife center in Pittsburgh. But you can imagine what the situation here is on the island. Without proper access, sometimes you hear of horrendous stories in the United States. So can you imagine what it's like here in Puerto Rico? It's not a good scene. You know, a lot of women don't have proper health care for reproductive health, and children too, you know, and a lot of children are getting, you know, they're not getting nutrition interventions that are necessary. For instance, just as far as foods, healthy foods, or just, you know, a common cold, you know, they're just the small, seem like simple things that just don't get addressed properly because of lack of access. And lack of access is not always about the medical system not being in full operation here, but also people not being able to drive down a certain mountain in a rural area to get to the nearest city, which is 2 hours away. Right. So that's a big deal. And I also want to say that yes, it's a, you know, well, the wellness healthcare system is a system that really is supportive to community. It really takes in community by empowering and by educating. So this is a real true concept of, you know, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach him how to fish, he will eat forever. That's what this wellness concept is about. And being that hurricanes may happen again on the island, if we can start this kind of system of wellness and training, and, you know, I'm open to volunteers eventually as things get running. I want volunteers to come over and to assist with this project. We can empower people, and this could be an example for other communities that have tsunamis and, you know, other traumatic environmental traumas. This could be an example for other communities of how to sustain life. This is very important. It's very important for the people of the island, but it's also very important worldwide. That's how I see it. I see the big picture, and I also see the small, if you will, small picture, which is working with my community here. And this is what I do. This is what I want to do. Personally, I have the passion for this. I would like big donations I would like to see big donations. This is where people should be putting their energy and their income, their resources here. You know, I want to.
It goes directly to these communities. We're not the Red
Yes.
Cross. We don't have,
No.
you know,
It's not like a trickle down and give me some drops. Yeah,
it's direct action in the community. Yeah.
Yeah, like I want to see that, and herbs. I want to see more plants everywhere. Should have a medicinal plant. You know, I've been also thinking and dreaming about a community garden. You know, that I know it's a big project, but it's possible, and all these things are possible if we have the resources and if I have the support from people. Right now, I feel very alone in this, so it'd be so nice to have the support. And I would hate for anything to happen where people will say, oh, I wish I had supported, or I wish I did this. I'm not gonna give up, but you know, this is the time is now to do this, to help out. And
yes.
Yeah, that's all I can say. I don't know what else to say. I just keep doing and doing, and hopefully there are people out there.
You're doing so much amazing work with people, and I love talking to you. And what we want everyone to do is go to Herbalists Without Borders website, make donations, look at our needs list. If you have supplies, if you have water filters, we need Berkey water filters.
Yes.
Use elements to help people build more community gardens. We have seeds. We just need to put the seeds in the ground.
Right.
You know,
shovels, things like that.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. We need equipment and infrastructure. And, you know, even if you think that all you have is a little something, a lot of little somethings make a mountain. And we can all just work together. And we're working on grant writing, and we're working on getting other elements together too, so that we can really make this a very big island-wide impact. But we need everyone to work together.
Yes.
So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Go to our website. We're going to also publish this interview on the website, and you can learn more about Ola, more about our Herbalists Without Borders Puerto Rico. And thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Denise, also for taking time to do